Got that post-Olympics blues? Feeling like something's missing without those thrilling sports moments? Well, great news, the Paralympics are here to fill that void. This week, Paris is the stage where thousands of the world's best athletes will compete for medals across dozens of sports. This isn't just any event, it's the Paralympics, a celebration of determination, skill, and the human spirit. What's happening at the Paralympics? The 2024 Paralympic Games kick off this Wednesday with an outdoor opening ceremony that's set to blow your mind. Running through 8th September, these games are already being called historic. Why? For starters, it's the first time the Summer Paralympics are being held in France, and the first since the COVID-19 pandemic where spectators are back in full force. But that's not all. This year boasts the highest number of delegations and female athletes ever. So, whether you are a long-time Paralympics fan or new to the Games, there's plenty to be excited about. Think about it, 12 days packed with redemption stories, fierce rivalries, and power couples competing for gold. What more could you want? Among the most anticipated stories? China, which has dominated the last 5 Paralympics, is looking to extend its reign. And making history is an Italian sprinter who's set to become the first transgender woman to compete at a Paralympics. Plus, keep an eye on some of Team USA's most decorated athletes. They're aiming to break new records and cement their legacies. The Paralympics versus the Olympics. What's the difference? Now, you might be wondering, what's the deal with the Paralympics and how do they differ from the Olympics? While both are multi-sport events, and they've been held in the same city and year since 1988, the Paralympics are special in their own right. The word Paralympic actually comes from the Greek preposition para, meaning beside, because the Games happen right alongside the Olympics. The Paralympics feature athletes with disabilities, unlike the Olympics, which typically showcases able-bodied competitors. There are 10 eligible impairment types in the Paralympics, including 8 physical, like limb deficiency and impaired muscle power, as well as vision and intellectual impairment. Athletes are grouped into categories based on how much their impairments limit their activities. So, while the spirit of competition is the same, the Paralympics celebrate a different kind of athleticism and determination. What sports can you expect? Athletes will compete in 549 medal events across 22 sports, from individual challenges to intense team matchups. Some sports are unique to the Paralympics, like goalball and boccia, while others have their counterparts in the Olympics, like swimming and cycling. In some sports, visually impaired athletes compete alongside sighted guides or pilots, who help them navigate the course, and these guides even get their own medals. The sports with the most competitors this year? Para-athletics, with over 1,100 athletes, para-swimming with over 600, and para-table tennis with nearly 300. These events are sure to be packed with action, so don't miss a second. Who's competing? The International Paralympic Committee has announced that a record number of delegations are participating this year. They said the same about the Tokyo Games in 2021, but Paris is taking it to a whole new level. While the final number isn't set in stone, about 4,400 athletes from 168 delegations are expected to compete in Paris. This includes 167 countries' national Paralympic committees, an 8-member refugee Paralympic team, and up to 96 neutral athletes, 88 from Russia and 8 from Belarus, who won't be competing under their national flags due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. For the first time ever, Eritrea, Kiribati, and Kosovo will be represented at the Paralympics. Meanwhile, the largest delegations come from China, with 282 athletes, Brazil, 255, and France, 237. And here's something amazing. This year's Games will feature a record number of female competitors, nearly 2,000. Plus, there are more medal events for women than ever before, with 235 events specifically for female athletes. Talk about progress. Team USA, who to watch? Team USA is sending 225 athletes to Paris, with an equal number of men and women. These athletes hail from 38 states, with California, Illinois, and Texas being the most represented. The youngest athlete is just 15 years old, while the oldest is 52, showing that talent and drive have no age limit. Leading the charge for Team USA are wheelchair basketball legend Steve Serio and sitting volleyball star Nikki Neves, who will serve as flag bearers during the opening ceremony. But they're not the only ones to watch. multi-season athletes like Oksana Masters, para-cycling and para-Nordic skiing, Aaron Pike, para-track and field and para-Nordic skiing, and Kendall Gretsch, para-triathlon and para-Nordic skiing, are fresh off the 2022 Beijing Winter Games, where Masters became the most decorated US Winter Paralympian of all time. Expect them to bring the heat in Paris. Then there's Jessica Long, the second most decorated US Paralympian in history, with 29 medals, including 16 golds. She's ready to add more to her collection in her 6th Paralympic appearance. Other names to know include track and field stars Tatiana McFadden, Roderick Townsend, and Brittany Mason, as well as Chuck Aoki, who has been a key player on the men's wheelchair basketball team for nearly a decade. Don't forget about Sarah Haddam, who's making history as the first woman to represent Team USA in wheelchair rugby at the Paralympics. And keep an eye on swimmer Abbas Karimi, competing in his first Paralympic Games as a US citizen after representing the refugee team in Tokyo 2020. Finally, Nick Mahog, a sprinter whose world record set in Tokyo still stands, is gunning for more gold in Paris. He'll also compete in the long jump. Talk about versatility. How and when to watch. The Paralympics opening ceremony will take place this Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time and will be broadcast live on USA Network. It will also stream on Peacock and NBC Olympics platforms. Can't catch it live? No worries, NBC will air an encore presentation this Friday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Unlike past opening ceremonies, this one won't be inside a stadium. Instead, it's taking to the streets of Paris, parading along the River Seine from the Champs-Élysées to the Place de la Concorde. Directed by Thomas Joly, who also oversaw the recent Olympic events, this promises to be a spectacular start to the Games. While the Paralympics typically get less coverage than the Olympics, that's changing this year. A record number of broadcasters will cover the Games, with media rights holders in over 160 countries and territories. Paris is also the first Paralympic Games to offer some live coverage of all 22 sports. NBC plans to stream around 1,500 hours of live coverage, the most ever for a Paralympics, on Peacock. You can also catch the action on NBCParalympics.com, NBC.com, the NBC Sports app, and the NBC app. Starting Thursday, USA Network will feature at least 9 hours of programming a day, focusing on the most popular events. NBC has also scheduled 3 primetime windows, including a recap of the opening ceremony and the first 2 days of competition on Friday, highlights on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and a final broadcast on 6th September recapping the entire second week. The closing ceremony will be held on Sunday, 8th September, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And before you know it, we'll be looking ahead to the 2026 Winter Games in Milan. But don't worry, there's plenty of incredible competition to enjoy in Paris until then. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more updates.